What do parents traveling with kids need the most when they check into your short-term rentals? Here's a hint, it's probably heaps of baby and toddler gear.
So what I think what's great for vacation rental hosts is if they have a family that's visiting with children, they don't have to worry about the gear. They could just point them to BabyQuip.
Can offering the ability to rent baby gear make family travel stress-free and help you as a host attract more bookings?
Young man, couple of kids, and he described to me the sense of relief he had when he got to a condo they had rented near his parents' home and everything was already ready.
We're speaking with Fran Maier. Fran is the CEO and founder of Baby Quip, and we're learning why hosts and property managers across the country are partnering with Baby Quip to elevate the guest experience.
I think that my experience being a super host or premier host has really helped me understand the problem guests are having and how to build a platform that really works for them.
I'm 30-time Airbnb superhost Jason Muth. I worked in the media business for over 25 years, and in 2016, I started building my Chapter 2 through short-term rentals. Since then, I've welcomed over 5,000 guests and their furry friends to our homes. We are here to show you how to create a smart stay. Now, here's Fran. Rory, since we're so ingrained in baby stuff these days and have been for the past, I don't know what, how old is Cecily? 5.5 at this point, right?
She is. We're
Yeah.
past baby stage. Believe it or not.
Yeah, we're in toddler stage, but we're definitely in the person ruling our lives stage still. And it's coincided with our journey in short-term rentals. And we really understand what it's like to be a parent traveling to these properties. So we've tried to do a good job equipping them with some stuff that other parents could appreciate as well, because a lot of people who travel to places that we have property are parents. Now, I came across BabyQuip, I don't know, a year ago when we started co-hosting in Provincetown, Rory. And, through many connections, we have the founder and CEO of BabyQuip on this podcast. And we're really excited to welcome Fran Maier to Smart Stay Show. Thank you, Fran, for joining us.
So excited to be here. I love short-term rentals.
I heard that you're a short-term rental host yourself, which I don't know how you fit that into a busy schedule of raising money and all this funding and these massive partnerships, but somehow it's in your mix.
Yeah, well, it's kind of how I arrived at BabyQuip. So back in 2012, I started renting rooms in my house in San Francisco on Airbnb. In fact, my house is up the block, about 5 blocks away from Airbnb's then headquarters. And it was in the air. And, I'd have families. I remember particularly a family that came from the Netherlands, I think, with their baby, and they have like this very generous maternity and paternity leave. So they were taking the opportunity to travel around the West Coast with their baby, and I had nothing, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And then I bought two properties in Santa Fe. Eventually, I had three, and I would have a pack and play. But for most families, they want a whole lot more than that. And a pack and play isn't perfect for every baby. Today's parents and maybe their children, they are they want more.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's in about 2016, I met somebody who was doing baby gear rentals here in Santa Fe, and we decided to join forces, and we launched. It was then called Babyerge, like Baby Concierge,
Mm-hmm.
in 2016, and we changed the name to BabyQuip in 2018, and it's been a fun ride.
Yeah, we should say, what BabyQuip does, for people that might
Oh,
not have heard
sure.
of you just yet. But basically, in our short-term rentals, we all have a specific type of person that travels, right? Sometimes it's a bachelorette party, sometimes it's a family, sometimes it's a busy professional, sometimes it's somebody that has to come to a house because their house flooded and they need somewhere to stay for a few months. And, all of our properties, there's a whole variety of types of things that we actually have at the properties, and you could fill in the gaps for children, specifically. So talk about BabyQuip and
Yeah.
what you
So
do.
we deliver baby gear to traveling families, and it's everything from car seats and strollers and cribs and snooze. And do
Hmm.
you know what a snoo is?
Certainly do. Yeah, we did not
Okay,
have one. Yeah.
yeah,
Rory, remember the snoo? Or no?
What
It's
was the
the
snoo?
it's the thing that's we didn't have one, but it sits next to the bed and it kind of rocks the baby and it's super
it's a
expensive.
smart bassinet, basically.
Yes.
Okay.
And also, we deliver for older kids toys and um, uh, beach gear and outdoor gear and games and everything a family wants. Even some of our suppliers, who we call quality providers, they'll even decorate a tree, which I think
Hmm.
is fantastic. So I knew as a host, a Verbo and Airbnb host, I didn't really want to buy and clean and take care of and have the liability for that baby gear. I mean, I remember when I first started working with BabyQuip, I tried to be a quality provider and go serve visitors to San Francisco, where I was living at the time. And I had this one time that I had this stroller, I could not open it. I could
Hmm.
not figure out how to work it. So what I think what's great for vacation rental hosts is if they have a family that's visiting with children, they don't have to worry about the gear. They could just point them to BabyQuip.
So I could tell you that I'm sitting in one of our vacation rentals right now, and one of the things I did on this trip was come up to decorate a tree. Oddly enough, I was
That's
like, "Hey,
funny.
I have a day of things to do. I'm coming here. I'm going to some other properties. Ideally, at some point, I would have somebody that can decorate my tree for me. So I can't wait to hear who is the provider for Baby Quick here in the area. But we have a pack and play upstairs that our cleaner, for some reason, just cannot get closed. And she's like,
Ah,
I don't understand how I can't get it closed. I've raised two kids. I'm like, oh, I don't know what to tell you. So I
I
went
wish
and
I
looked
could
at
give
it.
you advice myself.
I can't do it either. Right. Yeah. So we actually have it in the closet right now set up. So if anyone needs it, they just take it out of the closet, but it's
Right.
already set up. But yeah, you solve something that I think people who are getting into vacation rentals probably don't even realize that they need. And, Rory and I, we became parents in 2019 and, we bought our first property in 2016. And Rory, do you think that we did a good job appointing that property for families at the time, or what do you think?
Not really. I mean, it was an absolute blind spot for us. I mean, you're talking about the different types of visitors that come to properties, and unless you really live that life, you don't necessarily have the imagination for it. And also, as we kind of hinted, every kid is going to be different too. So
Right.
what each parent expects to have is going to be slightly different. So we as hosts can do the best job that we can to anticipate kind of a standard issue imagination of a guest, but we can't anticipate everything for every kind of guest and then every individual that's going to come through the property.
Well, I've even put in my automated responses. Let me know if you are traveling with a baby because here's my affiliate code for BabyQuip and you'll get 10% off or something like that. But they
Mhm.
really appreciate, and I know this as a host, being able to get all the gear.
Yeah, we've definitely had that question come up in Provincetown where we are co-hosting, where we own one property, but now we're co-hosting a series of properties in town. And somehow the question came up, and a lot of times, as you know, as a host, you add to your guidebooks, you change your systems based on situations that happen. So, oh, this thing happened. How did I solve that thing? This might come up for other people. Let me put this in my book so other people can
Right.
take care of it. So the reason that we added the local affiliate in Provincetown who rents baby gear is because somebody asked about it. And I looked it up and I realized that the storefront was right on Commercial Street and they could deliver it directly to any of our properties. So now after this conversation, we can get a little more formal with kind of the process of doing it because I love that idea, adding it into your automated messaging. Like if you happen to need this, I mean, there's so many messages that we send out. We're really complete with our information, as I'm sure you are and all good hosts are. But these people are just showing up for 2 days, 3 days, 5 days, 7 days. Like they're not reading everything, right? They're not reading our whole guidebook that we pour our hearts and souls into. But if they know that they don't have to bring baby gear, that is a big win for people who are especially driving or even flying into town. I mean, who wants to
Well,
who wants to
people who
come out of
fly
state?
absolutely need it, you
Absolutely.
know.
Yeah.
And many of our quality providers will meet the family at the airport with the car seat.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Wow, really?
there's usually a surcharge with that because,
Yeah.
it is a hassle to deal with cancellations and late flights and all of that. But we really try and go above and beyond. And families love us. I don't know if you know what Net Promoter Score is,
Hmm.
which is a sort of a measure of quality and actually whether or not people would tell other people about it. And we have a 93 Net Promoter Score, which
Hmm.
is through the roof.
Hmm. Can
And
you?
that's really because our local quality providers, and these are the people in Provincetown, I guess we have at least one,
Hmm.
they're the ones who own the baby gear, deliver it, set it up, pick it up, clean it, make sure it's all safe. And also, you should know our baby gear is insured. So
Hmm.
if something were to happen, knock on wood, there is some coverage for that.
So as a host, what is the relationship between your local provider, the host, and the people who are renting? Does the host basically supply the affiliate link and the recommendation, and then that business relationship between your local affiliate and the renters is totally separate from the host, or is the host a facilitator somehow?
Yeah, if the host recommends BabyQuip, they would be able to pass on an affiliate fee, affiliate coupon, or a promo, and
Hmm.
also earn a little bit of money on the rental. But we recommend, for the most part, that the parents pick the gear for the kid
Hmm.
rather than the host, because the parents know what the kids would like. A lot of parents want to rent the same car seat that they have at home
Hmm.
because they know how to use it. You know the deal with car
Hmm.
seats. They
Absolutely.
completely complicated sometimes, and they know the kind of crib and toys and things like that. So we pretty much recommend that the host passes on to the customer. Now, what's really nice though is it really makes it easier for our quality providers who deliver the gear to know who the host is and get permission to come in maybe a little bit early and set up the gear for the guest.
Hmm. Yeah, Rory, I could see us like I keep bringing it back to what we're doing also. And
Of
if you're listening to
course,
this,
right.
if
Yeah.
yeah, if people who listen to this podcast are mostly hosts, they own a couple properties. Maybe they're looking for their first property, and they're thinking in their head as they're driving around listing, saying, "Oh, geez, this is how I can do this." Rory, I'm thinking how we can do this is since we use a process of smart locks at all of our properties, this could be the kind of thing that if we're recommending this and we know the local provider, which we will, then they could just have their own code to the property. They can go in, they can set everything up, and that could be, an easy way to get things ready for guests.
No, and I think it's a great, it's an extra advantage for those markets where the properties might be smaller, so you can't, even if you wanted to as a host, purchase a lot of baby equipment and store it in the property. And like the market in Provincetown versus our New Hampshire properties,
Mm-hmm.
the frequency of full families with babies coming are pretty small, so we don't have them as frequently as we would in New Hampshire. So why would we go out and purchase a lot of baby gear in anticipation of the guests, especially if we're not confident that the gear that we choose is going to be exactly what they want?
Yeah, we just make it super easy for everybody. Now, obviously, the parents had to pay for it, but the fact that you recommended a resource that they value is really, really good. In fact, we've got a lot of partnerships with a whole bunch of property management companies and individual hosts, and they love it because they don't have to store, clean, and have liability for that baby gear.
Yeah.
And we're on the verge of some pretty big partnerships. You can imagine some of the bigger players,
Mm-hmm.
and their motivation is to make their guests happy, to solve a problem that they have, to make things as friction free as possible so that when they get to the house they can just relax. I have an investor in BabyQuip. I'll never forget him. And a young man, couple of kids, and he described to me the sense of relief he had when he got to a condo they had rented near his parents' home and everything was already ready.
Mm-hmm.
Just I mean, he practically teared up.
Frankly, as parents, I understand what it's like to like pack a car up. I know that when you were on Shark Tank, you brought a mule. right?
Yeah, the pack
Which
mule.
a pack mule, which I think is hysterical, and I've joked many times. Rory jokes with me that like I always fill up a car whenever I'm driving anywhere, like whether it's with supplies or whether it's with our own stuff. The car is always totally packed. I don't know how life was when I had our dog too, because she'd be in the back, car would be full. Now there's a baby. It's like this is just life is just crazy. Multiply that by 3 or 4 kids that some families have, and you're carrying a lot of stuff, just like a pack
Yeah.
mule. I remember, we haven't flown yet with our 5.5-year-old, and
You
we've taken
haven't?
her on. No, we maybe next year. We've taken her on cruises, so like she's traveled. She's been to a
Yeah.
lot of our houses.
Well, I
She's been
haven't
to
been
all
on
of
a
our
cruise,
places.
so she's ahead of me.
There you go. All right, she's an experienced cruiser. But we had her during COVID, right? So like she was a COVID
Ah,
baby. A lot of other babies have now been COVID's at various spots of the world. It's almost over in many places, and people are traveling as normal. I'm flying as normal. We just haven't integrated that into her life. But I think in the back of my head there was oh my god, I got to carry what through an airport? Like there was that pain in the butt of like
right.
all the gear, all the stuff. And frankly, when she was in the stroller mode, I mean, my God, these strollers, we had an upper baby. These things are massive,
Oh, yeah,
right?
massive. Yeah.
Yeah, they're massive. So I'm like, this just doesn't seem appealing. Like, let's just like wait later in life when she could be walking around and we're not carrying as much gear. But I could see, a situation that BabyQuip can provide, which would ease up the burden of traveling, which
Oh,
would
yeah,
give people
totally.
that sense of relief.
But I
And
want to pick
we
up
look
on
forward.
something you said, Jason.
What's that?
We are starting to rent pet gear.
Hmm.
Ah,
So
okay. Tell us
that's
more.
exciting, and beach and some outdoor gear.
Yeah.
You know,
All of our homes that we own are pet friendly, dog friendly. And when we allow dogs to come here, we have a dog bed, we have poop things, we have a couple treats here and there. But having supplies, for our fur babies, what a fantastic idea.
yeah. So, crates, dog beds, maybe some toys,
Hmm.
even dog carriages, which I didn't, or dog strollers, which I didn't know was a thing, but apparently is a thing. And so now we're serving families of all kinds. And then beach gear. So I get to Hawaii once a year or so, and I call our local quality provider or order. Um, and I don't have a baby, but I order umbrella and chairs, so I
Hmm.
just don't have to deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, well, Provincetown's a beach market also, and people ask a lot about having beach gear. We always recommend that hosts have it on site. We have some on site, but yeah, if you could have somebody that will rent it to you, and maybe it's in better condition too, because I'm sure that this equipment gets turned over. From once it starts to look like it's in disrepair, there's somebody immediately that could take it out of circulation
Yeah.
versus owning this stuff, as a host, and now you got to like get a new thing shipped out by Amazon, and that's a pain in the butt.
Well,
Um,
and that brings up another point. One of the things I did, speaking of Hawaii, is I would buy and dump, you
mhm.
know,
Yep, yep.
which is not cool,
No.
right? I mean, and today's parents or dog owners, they don't necessarily want to do that kind of thing either. So there's a real sustainability aspect to this. We don't make a big claim about that because, you know, you don't want to be accused of greenwashing, but I think everybody knows that these car seats and strollers and cribs and so on, they get used more, and that's
Mhm.
good. And there's no incentive to go buy and dump or buy and return.
Yeah. We've definitely had families that have flown into our places that had to buy stuff locally and left it at our property,
Oh yeah,
which,
no, I've seen that too. I don't mind
yeah.
it when they leave booze.
We don't either. You know what? Sometimes I'll get my hands on it, but usually I'm sure the cleaners kind of find
Yeah,
out
yeah,
at home.
yeah.
Yeah. And
I
it's
was checking on my vacation rental today, and they left that nice Fever Tree tonic. I was
yeah.
like, well, I'm
Oh.
taking that.
But so Fran, as the CEO of this company, you're also running your own vacation rentals. Like, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, I think that my experience being a super host or a premier host has really helped me understand the problem guests are having and how to build a platform that really works for them.
Hmm.
So I think it still provides some input, to keep up with even things like changes in cancellation policies, or what's Burbo doing here, what's Airbnb doing here. And it really continues to inform how we run the business. In fact, um, my son is our CTO, and he's a vacation rental host. A bunch of our team has side gigs of one kind or another. And I think that really kind of it continues to inform how we build and improve BabyQuip. In terms of time, I've simplified a little bit. I used to have, um, God, a bunch of listings because I'd have individual listings for my house in San Francisco. And then I had 3 properties eventually in Santa Fe. I'm now down to 1 in Santa Fe and 30-day rentals for my whole house in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little simpler. I have to say, though, I kind of enjoyed it. You know, I've enjoyed meeting the people. I've the one property I have here in Santa Fe is just a damn moneymaker. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a 2-bedroom adobe home, close to town, walkable to Canyon Road, which is a really art-filled destination in Santa Fe. And I was looking at my numbers this year, and I had 85% um, occupancy and generated $90,000.
Wow.
So,
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, why sell it? It's kind of like a nice little moneymaker. The regulatory environments have definitely impinged in
Mm-hmm.
some respects on the property. So I had another property um, that Santa Fe was going to start uh, um, charging basically like it's not a residence but a commercial property, and the property taxes would have doubled. And it was in a planned community, and they were increasing the fees on short-term rentals, and we just decided, just economically, it just didn't make any sense anymore.
Yeah. We're starting to see that in some other markets across the country where, the local authorities just giving such disincentive to operate as
Yes.
a short-term rental that, they kind of want to put that property back into the housing stock, which is what they basically sounds like they forced your hand and you said, yeah, that sounds fine. Like I'll cash out and just move the money into something else.
Yeah, I mean, this one that I had, and like in San Francisco, unless I lived in San Francisco, I couldn't do short-term rental. Now, it would be hard for me to manage. But I
Right.
have to say, that whole journey of being a short-term rental host, and let's say I started that in 2012, well, it was also great because interest rates were really, really low. So the properties I bought had, you know, almost free money in terms of the mortgage. The regulatory environment wasn't crazy, so I got grandfathered in on having more than one property in Santa Fe because I had it that early. And you build reputation and you build to the super host or premier host status, and it's great. And so I sold one of my properties this year. I sold the one I talked about. I sold another one because I bought a new home for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And, I kind of miss it, but it was a great ride. I made good money. I mean,
Yeah.
in the end, that house paid for itself almost entirely, and it appreciated. And, I have no complaints. The journey was fantastic.
Not only financially, but Rory, what I love hearing about Fran's story is, she basically started renting her bedrooms out probably next door to Brian Chesky, right? I mean, he was basically
Oh,
doing the
his
same
family
thing.
rented from us one time.
Did they really? That's
Yeah, and they
fascinating.
didn't leave a review. Can you believe it?
What?
Oh,
Well, I mean, Airbnb started around that same time with the same
Yeah.
premise, renting out your bedrooms. And, you were an early adopter. Living in San Francisco, I'm sure that the environment was different for people in San Francisco than when we discovered Airbnb in 2016. Rory's parents actually were doing it as hosts before we were, probably in what, 2014, 2015, Rory?
yep.
Yeah. So Airbnb started kind of, going around the globe in the early 2010s. You were an early adopter to that, early adopter to actually being a host. And then that probably sparked some of your interest in launching this business. And
Oh,
I love how,
absolutely. No question. It
Rory,
was,
yeah, I love how Fran is basically her own focus group, right?
oh, yeah.
It's fascinating because I mean, a lot of people will launch businesses based on the world around them, and that's very natural. And that's, it sounds like that's similar to what you did by hosting for a while, launching BabyQuip, but you're still hosting because you still get to see what it's like firsthand to be greeting these travelers and see the questions they're asking. And then you can combine that with your business knowledge. And then here you have a better business as a result.
It gives me a lot of credibility. And as I mentioned, we're talking to all the big platforms, and it's great to be on a call with Verbo and say, hey, yeah, I'm a premier host in Santa Fe. And they love that because they know I get it. And I do get it. It's funny early on, Rory, Jason and Rory, when I didn't tell my friends I was doing this, I had this 3-story house in San Francisco with 2 rooms on the 3rd story. And I had people coming in and out of my house. And it's like, I didn't want to come off like these, uh, widows you read in old English novels that have fallen on hard times and have to bring in boarders. That was not the image I was trying to portray. And then it became cool.
Mhm.
Yes, it did. Yeah, I feel that same way when I see friends selling things on Facebook Marketplace for like $20, and I'm like, is everything okay? Like, maybe life's a little bit challenging right now, but people just love doing that stuff
Oh,
too. And
yeah.
you mentioned how much you enjoy the hosting, enjoy what you're doing, and what we're in a short-term rental mastermind where everyone wants to like automate everything and scale their business, but it really does start with, why do you want to do it? Like, it's always down to the why. And what we say sometimes with people that want to automate everything is, well, figure out what you like doing. Like, what elements of the business do you physically like yourself? What brings you joy? And keep doing those things. Like, if you don't like doing X, Y, and Z, outsource it all. Like, I don't dislike decorating a Christmas tree, but frankly, if there was somebody here that I probably could have easily called to do it, I would have called them and saved myself a trip. But hey, I wanted to come up here today anyway, so I thought it was a
Yeah,
good
yeah,
idea.
yeah, that's nice. One of the
Yeah.
things I had in all my Santa Fe properties and my San Francisco property as well is a pretty decent art collection. And I
Hmm.
love it that people often in the reviews talk about how much they enjoyed the art.
I mean, Santa Fe. When did we go there? 2015, right?
We went there in 2013. Oh, 2014. You're right.
Well, you're due
2014.
for another trip.
We
We
are.
sure are.
We had such a fantastic stay in Santa Fe. It was. And here, Fran, we have to tell you how we ended up in New Mexico. Rory, do you want to tell the story?
Well, we were looking for our next trip, before the wedding, and we actually each wrote down on a series of pieces of paper like ideas of where to go, and we put them into a hat. The rule was we just couldn't go back to a place we'd been before. And every day we would pull out a destination and eliminate it from consideration randomly. So the one that was left at the end was New Mexico.
Okay.
And very fortunately, and Jason actually posted that up on Facebook saying, like, hooray, we're going to New Mexico. And one of his old colleagues actually owns a second home in Santa Fe and
A
just
gorgeous
volunteered the
home.
property to us. Beautiful home.
He
And we,
I was so we were so touched. I couldn't believe that he offered this up to us. This is before we didn't even know what Airbnb was, frankly. Like, we
All
probably
right.
would have just gotten a hotel. But I mean, the his local art collection as well,
Mhm.
realizing that Santa Fe is one of the premier art destinations in the world. I'm not surprised that you have hosts that appreciate the art that you have in your property I mean, it's such an interesting style of art. I mean, Southwestern art, there's a combination of Native America, bright colors. There's so many connections to different
Yeah, no,
pieces of the
that
artwork.
really brings me joy to bring people to have that.
Yeah.
It really is great. I've met some great people, and during the pandemic, I was living next door to the people one property, and when I was in Santa Fe, not San Francisco, I was living next door to them, and it was nice. We'd have these little cocktail parties, social distanced.
Hmm.
Remember?
Yeah. Yeah. God, whatever. Um,
Yeah.
hey, Roy, any final questions for Fran before I think we have a affiliate code, or we have some
Well,
website
you
that we're
have a
going to put.
promo code. You have a
Excellent.
promo code for 20% off. The code is Smart Stay.
Hey,
It's
that's
easy to
one
remember.
easy to remember. Yeah.
Right. And
Um,
if you go to our homepage, at the bottom, there is a link to becoming an affiliate.
mhm.
And that's if you are a host and you want to recommend BabyQuip to your guests, you can become an affiliate and get a code and get a little payout, which is
Mhm.
always nice, a little extra income. Or the other thing is, if you wanted to rent baby gear, you could go to our website and become a baby gear quality provider for BabyQuip.
If you want to be the one renting it out
Yeah,
to
if you want to
people.
be the
Yes.
one who owns the baby gear and wants to rent it out.
Right. And
Yeah.
then if you want to be a end customer who's showing up at an Airbnb that wants to rent your equipment, you can either do it through the affiliate link or use the promo code on your website, right?
Yeah, smart
Yeah.
stay.
Perfect.
Okay.
We will link all that stuff up in the show notes, and I can't wait to become an affiliate. I'm embarrassed to say that we're not, but we will be like shortly after
Okay.
this.
Great.
Recording is done. Rory, thank you for being part of this podcast. Fran, thank you for all of your time and explaining what you guys do and hearing your story about how you're a short-term rental host yourself. I think that adds a lot of credibility to BabyQuip and all the work you're doing.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for listening, and we look forward to having you join us for the next episode of Smart Stay Show.